ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Hit Play Podcast, episode 4. I am one of your hosts, Isaac Jimenez, joined as always every week by James Harding. James, how are you?
I'm all right. Doing well.
Good?
How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. A little tired. Allergies are starting to kick my butt, but always exciting.
I can't relate.
So today we're going to be talking about some of our unpopular opinions in film and television as a whole. This was a topic that you actually wanted to talk about. I guess
have a few unpopular opinions. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we both have our fair share of unpopular opinions. I will let you take off with your first unpopular opinion.
All right. So my first unpopular opinion is that I actually like Shaky-Cam.
Shaky-Cam, like in action movies,
like in action movies, in normal movies. And I don't just mean that I don't mind it. I mean that I actively enjoy it.
You actively enjoy not knowing what is going on.
So there's, like everything, there's a way to do it well and there's a way to do it poorly. I think the for me the notorious example is in the film Taken 3. There's a moment where Liam Neeson jumps over a fence.
Yes.
It's only 7 seconds long, but there's legitimately like 30 different cuts throughout that entire scene.
That's every editing 101 class shows that as what not to do.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. So I feel like that there is a way to do it well and there is a way to do it correctly. And the whole, action scene, you don't understand what's going on, that's been done well and that's been done horribly. I actually think the Bourne movies are an example of it done well.
Mm-hmm.
That might be an unpopular opinion. I think the Bourne movies and Mad Max Fury Road are an example of it done very, very well.
Yeah, Mad Max for sure. I haven't seen the Bourne movies, so I can't comment on that. But I will say that Mad Max, that especially in the beginning when they're doing that weird 20 FPS jittery cam, it kind of shows. I kind of agree with that. Is that it's good if it enhances the character, like how the character is feeling in that moment. But if it's shaky for no reason, like my biggest complaint with Shaky-Cam, I think, is probably the Marvel movies. A lot of the Marvel movies are
the Marvel and the DC movies
guilty of this
criticism a lot.
Yeah, they just Civil War. It was like, what the, like in the beginning when they're taking down that one guy, I was like, what the, like, who are we fighting right now? Like, I just see a bunch of hair. You see a bunch of, black and blue fighting each other, and it's just kind of like, what the hell is going on? But I think Mad Max is definitely on the higher end of that. How do you feel about, so do films like John Wick where it's very steady?
Like, does that bother me when it's not done the other way? No, because like I said, like everything, it can be done well and it can be done poorly. To some degree, I know it's a stylistic choice. There are some directors like Peter Berg, for example, or Paul Greengrass, who do it like exclusively. So I always know what to expect from them. That doesn't mean that I expect it from everyone else.
Yeah.
That's just me personally. Because when I say that I like it, I mean that like purely aesthetically. Like, whatever kind of art of cinematography that there could be behind it goes out the window because I just like the look of it. And I feel like movies like John Wick, I appreciate the way that those films are shot because they're taking into account the actual look and flow of action scenes. I appreciate that when I get that. I also appreciate random handheld camera work unmotivated when I get that as well. Because this isn't just for action movies I'm talking about. I will go out of my way to see movies just because I know they're filmed. Like, what's a good example? Movies like most Lars von Trier movies. There's a film called Blue is the Warmest Color that is entirely handheld, and it's like a 3-hour long film. It's a pretty amazing.
Have you seen Hardcore Henry at all?
Hardcore Henry, I didn't, because I didn't like the first person gimmick.
Oh, okay. It kind of gives you bad nausea.
Yeah, which I don't get motion sickness, so that's maybe part of the reason why I I actually kind of enjoy it. Movies like Cloverfield or Blair Witch Project, I actually like.
Yeah. Movies like, I think it's kind of like a lost art now, right? Cloverfield and Blair Witch, because it's become so popular in that genre, especially.
Yeah.
But that first Cloverfield, I remember watching it and just being like, "Oh my god, like this is good." And like you said, there's kind of an art to that handheld, shaky style that is sometimes directors kind of take too far.
Yeah.
And I think with those two films, it's
like
definitely works to their advantage.
For example, one of the ways you can use it is to get a really grounded and documentary look. And so people like Paul Greengrass or Peter Berg, who use it for films like Bloody Sunday or United 93, which are like historical dramas.
Yeah.
Or like just based on real events like Patriots Day or Deepwater Horizon. Those are films where I would say it is absolutely justified, even when you just have characters talking to each other. I would say if that's the look you're going for, it's completely motivated in every scene. But then you get
TV. Speaking of Peter Berg,
Friday Night Lights.
He famously uses it for Friday Night Lights. Yeah, he's always a weird camera. I was watching it with someone one time, and they made a comment how the camera is always, it pans or it tilts down towards the hands and then it comes back up.
Yeah. And
I had never noticed that, but it, like you said, it does give that documentary kind of feeling, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, sometimes one of the big complaints I hear is for a superhero film, if you're flying in the sky, you don't need a handheld camera because there's no ground for you to even stand on.
Mm-hmm.
Or one of the other complaints I get, and I actually think that this is super cool, so I love it when it happens, but when people do like the fake zoom in.
Zack Snyder famously does that.
He does that a lot. Who else does it a lot? Neil Blomkamp, he did District 9 in Elysium. He does that a lot. Yeah. But and I love all those movies. Just aesthetically, the look of the Shaky-Cam.
Mm-hmm.
I just like it. And I go to YouTube and I see people like Chris Stuckman.
Everybody hates it.
Talking about how it's, the death of cinema. And I'm like, nah, man. God forbid I ever become a director, because that film will be shot entirely handheld.
You're going to film it on your iPhone?
What's funny too is that there are instances like directors like Sean Baker who have done films like Tangerine or The Florida Project are shot like entirely on iPhones, but yet he's doing it from like a selfie stick. So they're basically Steadicam.
Damn.
So you can do it without succumbing to it. But I appreciate it when people succumb to it.
Yeah, I think the John Wicks especially have kind of spoiled us as far as like the Steadicam kind of action sequences.
Yeah.
And now when we see Shaky-Cam, it's like, oh my god, really? We can't. Why do we have to go through that? But I think, like you said, there is an art to it.
And another thing I'll say too, in terms of the editing, because Shaky-Cam on itself does not necessarily mean the like ridiculously short, shot lengths. Films like the Bourne movies or Mad Max Fury Road have like an average shot length of nearly a second or less.
Uh-huh.
So there are definitely movies where you get that style with longer takes, like Blue is the Warmest Color or Rachel Getting Married. Those are films that have that style, but they don't succumb to the editing. So I feel like people pair the two together and they're too mad at one thing or one side of one thing, in my opinion.
That is I'm gonna say that's definitely an unpopular opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
But I agree with a lot of your points. Make a good argument for him.
Yeah, I like it because I can defend it. So
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, that's true.
That's really all unless you have any other questions, like why am I weird? But
Nah, man. Everybody has their own aesthetic purposes,
Yeah, true.
So
It's a
it's all.
vibe.
I can't really comment on it.
I don't know.
I personally prefer the more steady cam, but
Mm.
the shaky cam at times can't help.
Yeah,
So
it has its time and place.
it just depends. Yeah. It's like everything, right? It's like a one shot. You can't put a one shot in everything.
Yeah, and
It's
I would
gotta
even
be.
say that there are instances in which people do steady cam, and it's still just as unmotivated as shaky cam.
Right. Yeah.
You can even do stuff
Yeah.
like that incorrectly. So, take it as you will.
It's all about knowing. It's all about knowing what you need to get out of this, out of the shot. Yeah. So.
All right, I'll let you go.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
What's
cool.
your unpopular opinion?
My first unpopular opinion. There's way too many shows and movies being produced nowadays.
Like just in general, not specifically just like Netflix and on streaming.
Well, Netflix and streaming, Netflix especially is the biggest culprit of this. I mean, Netflix had, let's see, February 2020 they had 1,500 originals, and now they have 2,000 and so in a year they've somehow added 500 more original shows.
Wow.
I think it just like it when you have that much, and you're even seeing this problem on extending to the networks, right? All the networks are starting to release their own
streaming
original
services,
shows on their apps, and like Kaylee Kuko, who plays the chick in Big Bang Theory, she's on a show about some kind of weird murder. But like we've seen this before multiple times on other shows about someone getting caught in a murder. I don't know. There's a lot of problems with a lot of shows, and I feel like a lot of shows nowadays they can become movies.
It's a quantity over quality problem.
Yeah, I think TV, it a lot of it feels too formulaic and analytic in its production. Like it's let's go get the B-list actor that everybody kind of likes, but not everybody really knows. Let's go get them. Let's go make them a star, and that'll sell our show. Like you see it with the Queen's Gambit, right? Anna Taylor-Joy.
Yeah.
Anna Taylor-Joy was not a big name. She was a blossoming name, and she was on the come up. So Netflix took her and was like, let's just put her in this interesting premise, and then the show blew up to become what it is.
Now, are you saying the problem is that too many shows are being produced because it's quantity over quality? They're just throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks?
Yeah. Yes.
Because
100%.
You could make the argument that if they didn't produce so many material, you wouldn't have gotten a show like Queen's Gambit that stuck.
Well, I don't know, because the Queen's Gambit was a book, and I'm not even saying Queen's Gambit is the biggest fault of this. Like the Queen's Gambit, I think would have been made just because it's a book, anyways. But like a show like Stranger Things, would it have been made 10 years ago? I don't think so. And Stranger Things obviously became what it is, and I have problems with Stranger Things the recent season, but it just feels like TV is becoming too analytic in its approach, and there's not really a whole lot of risk taking as far as studios and cables networks kind of taking those risks and giving us some. I mean, when's the last time we had a genre changing show? Breaking Bad in 2008,
or even like Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones in what, 2000 and when did it come out? 2010
or something like that.
Yeah. So it's been what, 5 years, I would say, since we've had 10 years since we've had like a truly risky show that changed the genre that's been produced.
One of the things that you see a lot too is you'll get a show like Game of Thrones, and then you'll get a bunch of little, like, not knockoffs, but who remembers The Bastard Executioner from FX? No one does.
Right.
Because it had one season and like 5 episodes, and then it was canceled.
Mm-hmm. They all want to get their Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Or
I mean, that's why
you see like anthology
that's why
shows.
Vikings is on History Channel, right? Because they wanted to cash in on that medieval fantasy type of, which Vikings aren't medieval or fantasy, but it's kind of like that, you know, that
Vibe.
same genre,
Yeah,
same setting. So I don't know. That's how I feel about TV. Obviously, you know, Netflix has some good shows. I just got into Ozark and I'm really digging it. I don't think that would have been made without Breaking Bad, but I don't know. That's my take on it. I think there's way too many TV shows being produced.
So what would you say are the exceptions? Like you named Ozark, which maybe isn't reinventing the wheel, but I feel like Ozark is actually Breaking Bad. I don't know if I would say that's a big influence. I feel like Ozark comes across more like a lot of Scandinavian crime TV series. That's the kind of vibe that I get from it a lot.
Scandinavian
it has
crime,
that really
so
dark
I can't comment.
kind of neo-noir styling, whereas Breaking Bad was more like Western influenced. But what would you say are the exceptions?
To the
Like, what is the quality that's coming out of the quantity?
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? Is there any good quality that came out?
Well, you named Ozark.
I can't think of any at the.
And Queen's Gambit.
I would say Ozark, Queen's Gambit is okay. It wasn't. I think I watched like 3 episodes and I stopped watching just because I would rather watch something else.
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things season 1 was phenomenal. Season 2 was okay. Season 3 I couldn't finish just because I was like, we're not doing anything new here. This is just turning into like a procedural,
a weird
supernatural procedural. Yeah. It's like we're now starting to make fun of you because, I don't know. I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that, especially in the streaming apps, that was like great.
So then what do you feel like needs to be reinvented? What genres would you like to see people try to reinvent or experiment with?
The Western, for one. I think we need more Westerns.
Have you been watching, do you know the show Yellowstone?
I've watched a couple episodes with my dad.
Did you feel like that was any good? Because that's, I know the guy who created it was Taylor Sheridan, who did Sicario and Hell or High Water. I feel like he's probably one of the bigger. Like if he was going to reinvent something,
a good Western too. Yeah, I really liked Hell or High Water.
He does that very well.
We need more, and I think if we, if they push the Western into that kind of Western, I think it would be. I don't know. There's so much potential in, especially in genres that have kind of died off. That when we keep pushing like fantasy, medieval, sci-fi shows, like there's so many damn drug dealer shows. Like there's so many of these out there now that it's kind of like, can we start? I think that's why everybody fell in love with the Queen's Gambit, right? Because it's something different.
Yeah, it's chess. Chess is for nerds.
Everybody picked up a chess set the week after and then
tried to become Magnus Carlsen.
Yeah, never got back into it. So
what can you do? So then who do you feel like is the biggest offender though? Like, is there one, like, you will refuse to watch this show because it just represents everything that you hate?
I don't know if I can pinpoint it on one. There's just, every time I see a trailer for a new movie, it's like, we've seen this. Like the new Bob Odenkirk movie, Mr. Nobody. Have you seen the trailer for that?
No, not at all.
It looks so stupid. Bob Odenkirk should not be an action hero, but yet they're trying to make him into one. And that to me is like, okay, you're trying to take this aging man. They're trying to do what they did with Liam Neeson in Taken, where they took this aging actor and tried to turn him into an action star halfway through his career. Except Bob Odenkirk is not Liam Neeson.
No. I see Bob Odenkirk and I think Saul from
Yeah.
Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
He can't escape that image.
Exactly. He's like very Weasley and
slimy.
He's not. You're not trying to get. Yeah, you're not trying to fight him.
Yeah. It'd be like if Steve Buscemi was an action hero.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. Well, I agree that there is a lot of things being produced. I would say another way to look at it though is that there's a lot of opportunity out there.
Yeah, and that's the counterpoint, right? Is there's now a show for everybody to watch.
I think actually one of the biggest ways I would criticize the fact that so many things are being produced is that too much of it is, it's either too accessible and too aimed at like the general audience, or it's too niche.
Mm-hmm.
It's too inaccessible. And I feel like shows like Stranger Things or Queen's Gambit only really stick out because they
super
buck
accessible.
that. They're both accessible and just niche enough. Like, sure, it's a show about chess, which who plays chess outside of nerds like myself, but it's still like a good enough drama series with enough star power. Not too much that you can tell that they're like forcing it, but just enough that you can tell that it's going to be well acted.
Yeah.
But that would be the flip side of the argument, I would say.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
You got me on that one.
God, why didn't you think of that, Isaac? What's wrong with you? So
yeah,
now...
look, I'm not saying Netflix is like needs to stop making shows, but can we make better shows?
Dude, why make bad shows when you could just make good shows?
Why can't we just think of that, you know?
It's not that hard. Come on. LMAO. I mean, on the one hand, it's like they don't know what's gonna hit or what's gonna miss. Because they produce tons of things just because that's their business model. You know, like compare them to HBO, whose entire model is quality over quantity.
Yep.
Now, HBO has had some pretty bad shows and stuff that has missed its mark. And they've even had some amazing shows that nobody watched. So it's really just the difference in model, I would say.
What I'm really trying to say is Netflix needs to slim down their shows so I can actually find something to watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my stance on Netflix. I don't know.
I think a lot of people would agree with you.
Yeah. Maybe, because I feel like also every show on Netflix is super overhyped.
Yeah, maybe.
At least from what I read on Reddit. And I need to get off Reddit, man. I swear.
Yeah, you do.
Every show is overhyped on that. Like, I don't know. But, yeah, those are my thoughts on...
Because there's a lot of shows on Netflix
but not really...
Like, who is this show even for?
Yeah.
And I know that it's not for me, but it doesn't feel like it has a clear audience to it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Network's having that problem too, right? Like The Masked Singer. Who the hell watches The Masked Singer?
Hey man, the Korean show is actually pretty good.
There's no, like in The Masked Singer, there's no reason to watch it.
No,
it's just celebrities.
No, at least in Korea they have K-pop, so you're getting K-pop idols who can actually sing well. But I don't care about American idol. I don't care about like American celebrities who can sing well.
Why do I care that Rob Gronkowski's on Masked Singer?
Why do I care about Kermit the Frog on the Masked Singer?
Yeah, exactly. So stupid. Anyways, let's keep moving. Your next unpopular opinion.
So this is a do you want a movie I love that people don't, or do you want an entire director I love that people kind of don't?
Give me the director. Let's talk to the director.
We'll talk about the director. I think in my opinion, and this is a director I love, that you can check the Rotten Tomatoes scores and the Metacritic scores. Not many people like this guy.
I'm pulling up a tab right now.
But a director who I think is making the, not so much the best cinema, but the purest distillation of what movies, just pure cinema, the purest distillation of cinema and filmmaking, is Terrence Malick. From about
sounds familiar.
2011, he made a film called The Tree of Life that you've probably heard of or seen, because it won the Palme d'Or, and it had Brad Pitt and Amy Adams in it. And they have a lot of traction, actually. But from that movie onwards, To the Wonder, Knights of Cups, Song to Song, and A Hidden Life, he's made this weird kind of... It's him, because it has his very loose, dreamlike editing and his use of voiceover. A lot of his films have gotten a lot of flack for being boring or plotless or characterless or boring or too long or did I say plotless? Because plotless.
Yes, you said plotless.
But they're so good. And I think they're some of the best movies that are being made. I think people are really
missing it.
He's so underrated. I will personally overrate him just to make up for it.
Well, that's how you got to do it, right? That's how you make them correctly rated.
And not many people have seen his movies. And it's a bit of a shame. But probably not, because most people probably wouldn't like them.
He executive produced a documentary about Lil Peep.
He did. And I know that because the guy who directed that documentary was a producer on some of his other films. On some of Terrence Malick's films.
Cool. Did you watch Lil Peep's documentary?
No, I don't care about Lil Peep's documentary. Not at all.
Fair. Hey man, Lil Peep, he changed the game, bro.
We're talking about Terrence Malick, Isaac.
Sorry. I just saw Lil Peep in it.
I know.
It jumped out.
It's so random.
Yeah, he seems to be. It's like, oh, this is, he seems very experimental. He's got good projects, and that he's working with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, and then executive produced Lil Peep. So it seems that he's very experimental. Am I wrong in saying that?
Not at all. He is, like I said, his films get criticized for being plotless. His actual editing style is like, how would I describe it? He doesn't even edit like in a moment-to-moment, scene-to-scene kind of way. He edits in a really emotional way. Like, he's not editing because there's almost no plot, so it's hard to edit in a scene-to-scene kind of style. So I don't know, it's hard to describe. It's really, really dreamlike. That's one word I would say to describe him. Not surreal, but dreamlike.
Is this Christopher Nolan in Inception?
So, Christopher Nolan is a huge Terrence Malick fan. And one of the ways in which he was influenced by Terrence Malick was in Terrence Malick's film Thin Red Line. He would cut to flashbacks without telling you they were flashbacks. He would just hard cut to a moment in the past, and it was up to the audience to determine, why are we getting this? Where is this coming from? It was kind of like in that weird Kuleshov effect kind of way, where you would see a soldier, and then the next shot would be a girl, and you have to put two and two together. Girl is girlfriend or wife or what have you. And you see in a lot of Christopher Nolan films, like in The Prestige, where he doesn't tell you what time and place you're in. You just have to put it together yourself. Nolan is a huge Terrence Malick fanboy. And you know who else is? Zack Snyder.
Zack Snyder, the guy.
A lot of you can see it in films like Man of Steel, where the way that he edits a lot of the moments of young Superman. I don't know, young Clark Kent, like Life on the Farm. That's very heavily Terrence Malick influenced stuff. And guess what? Handheld camera work. Yeah, he has that. And guess who does his cinematography? Emmanuel Lubezki. So you know that it's going to be, top tier stuff.
Yeah.
But no, I just think, because if you think about what is no one else doing? No one makes a Terrence Malick film. Even the people who are influenced him, they take stuff from him. But there's stuff about the way that he makes his film. It's the weird combination of his films are entirely light and sound. It's just like pure cinematography and pure audio. Because there's no character outside of voiceover, and there's no plot outside of camera work and what you're seeing on screen. It sounds incredibly pretentious, but it's incredibly amazing. And I would recommend
that's
Tree of Life.
That's what film is, right?
Yeah, that's all it is.
The
only other person I can compare it to is Andrei Tarkovsky, because that's the only other director I know that did anything remotely similar, even though their styles are completely opposite. But I would recommend Tree of Life and Night of Cups. The Tree of Life and Night of Cups are, I think, the two best examples of his modern day style. Even though I think Tree of Life got like a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's a good movie. Trust me.
Did it really?
Yeah.
See, I'm telling you, that's the problem with Rotten Tomatoes, right? It's
too crowdsourced.
Yeah. Well, it's like if everybody gives it a passing grade, the film technically gets a passing grade, even if that passing grade was like a 62 or something like that.
Yeah. So. But that's
crazy. He must sound like a good director to work with, and I guess everybody likes him because he has a lot of big name directors in his
actors. Films. Yeah,
just looking at his Wikipedia.
He works with Christian Bale a lot.
Mm-hmm. He has Brad Pitt, Chastain, Sean Penn in Tree of Life, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt.
His film Thin Red Line had like a huge ensemble cast of like dozens of just high profile A-list actors were in that
Penn, Adrian Brody, Woody Harrelson, George Clooney.
So yeah, Terrence Malick. I like him.
I'll have to check him out. Where do you find his some of his films at?
Good luck. You know what? Criterion Collection. Almost all of his films are on Criterion Collection. And HBO Max. Those are the two places you might be able to find them.
I do need to get HBO Max.
Every single time he comes out with a film, I see it in theaters. I think he is.
Does he have anything new coming out?
Not that I know of. He's done pretty well. He's been really, really consistent. He's made a film at least like every 2 or 3 years.
That's good. So he's a working director.
Yeah. For sure.
Cool. Nice.
I would
Terrence Malick, everybody.
He's not for everyone, so you have been warned. If you find him boring, completely understandable. If you love cinematography, 100% I would recommend him. And that's like the only people I would recommend him to.
If you like light and sound, Terrence Malick is your guy.
Give him a shot.
Cool.
And
filmed a lot in Texas. That's interesting.
He is from Texas, yeah, true. So that's someone I love who people hate. And that's the director.
I'm surprised I haven't seen any of his films in class. I feel like this is a... You were in FMS 100 with me, right?
I believe so, yeah.
I feel like this is an FMS 100.
Well, he's probably a bit too experimental. Because he let me tell you, if you watch one of his films, it's going to come across like, classic film school kind of art student pretentiousness. So I am actually really surprised. Most people I knew at ASU had never heard of him. I was extremely surprised, especially because the people he influenced were like, we're talking Christopher Nolan, Steven Spielberg, Martin
all the big
Scorsese, Zack
directors
Snyder.
that work nowadays. Yeah.
So what can you do? What about you, Isaac?
Cool.
What do you love that people
So
hate?
do you want to hear something I like that other people don't?
Yeah.
So this is borderline other people don't. I kind of went off of the Metacritic scores. The National Treasure movies. We need a third one.
Did we not get a third one?
I don't know
Did
if this
we
counts
actually
as
not get a third one?
movies I like that. No, we haven't had a third one yet, and
Oh
we
my
need
God.
one. I was watching them yesterday, and it just dawned on me like, oh my God, we need a third one. They're not the greatest movies. They're like this PG version of the Da Vinci Code trilogy or duology or whatever. I don't even know. But they're so fun. They're so absurd, and it's just like a great movie just to sit down and watch. Just like if it's on, I'll watch it. And I'll
Which
watch
one
the
do you
whole
like
thing.
more, 1 or 2?
I think I'm more inclined to like 2 just because because 2 was more on TV more when we had TV. I watched 1 the other day and I still enjoyed it, but I think I enjoyed 2.
So I don't remember
also,
much.
Helen Mirren is in 2. Like what
Oh yeah, I
the
actually
hell?
remember. So the first one, that's the one where they steal the Declaration of Independence, right?
Yes, that's the one that everybody memes.
And the second film, that's the one where they find the City of Gold.
Yes,
Okay.
in the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, I remember that. I actually think I saw that in theaters. I remember that.
The second one, it was like a big thing on. I remember it being a big thing on Disney Channel. The second one, that it was like
Really?
they had like spots every day. They were always
Jeez.
talking about like the behind the scenes, and you could always see Nick Cage
That's so weird.
interviews on Disney Channel. Well, I mean, it's a Jerry Bruckheimer film, right? So it's kind of that
Yeah, true.
Disney umbrella.
Yeah, I remember seeing the Simpsons movie advertised on Disney Channel.
Just so absurd.
Huh. So what, in terms of, so you like them because they're just fun and entertaining?
Yeah, I don't. They're not. They're not gonna make my top 10. They're probably not even gonna make my top 20. But just to have like a good alternate science or alternate history movie, where it's like actually John Wilkes Booth was looking for the City of Gold to bankroll the Confederacy. It's like what? I like movies like that where they give us alternate worlds. Yeah, alternate history that the more than we're used to, or that we have that happened. So also Nick Cage, he's not a terrible actor. Everybody likes to meme on him because he's made shit movies.
Because he's a bit of a meme actor.
Yeah, which is somewhat justifiably so, but he's not a terrible actor. I think I watched him in Snowden the other day. He was actually pretty. He was pretty. I mean, he's in it for like 10 minutes, but the clip that he was in Snowden was pretty. It's pretty. You're laughing at me for my Nicolas Cage.
A little bit.
Appreciation. And I like Diane Kruger. I can't believe the sidekick Ben Reilly. He never became like a big actor.
I was just thinking about him. Is that his name, Ben Reilly?
No, his name is what's his name?
Because you know what, that dude looks like. The character is
Ben Reilly, but the actor is Riley Poole. I'm sorry, Ben Reilly. Why am I thinking of Ben Reilly?
Riley Poole. That's
Justin Bartha.
That guy looks like Snowden.
You think?
He kind of does, or maybe he just looks like.
I guess he was in The Hangover.
Was he?
Yeah.
Huh. Not bad.
But that's like the only other big film that he's done.
No, poor guy. We need to revive his career.
We do. John Voight is in this movie. Harvey Keitel is in this movie. Like, what the hell? This is the second one. It has a big cast too. I can't believe people didn't like it.
It's hard to hate those movies though. Like, sure, they're a bit of a meme, but I don't think they're supposed to be anything but fun. And it's hard to hate something that just wants to be entertaining and fun. It's not like, the Da Vinci Code, which takes itself seriously.
Yeah.
and wants to be, a weird, mind-blowing cryptography
and it's super
drama.
funny. Like, I was watching him yesterday, and I just couldn't believe how many times I laughed. Especially for movies that came out in, what was it, 2004 and 2007 or something like that?
I remember one scene where Nicolas Cage, after he steals the Declaration, he walks through the gift shop, and they're like, "Hey, you can't take that," because they have replicas of the Declaration of Independence, and they make him pay for it when he's stealing the real thing. I remember that. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Or he's walking out in the second one. He walks out of the woods because he's trying to kidnap the president. He walks out of the woods with a bottle of champagne. He's like, "Have you seen a blonde? She's about this tall. Tried to get her to drink with me, and she just didn't want to. I don't know where she went." I was like, "Oh my god, this is a kids movie, man."
Honestly, so I only would trust Nicolas Cage to play something like that, to play a character like that.
Yeah, because he knows not to take himself super seriously, right?
Yeah.
So
that's hilarious.
I don't know. I enjoyed those movies. It's probably not a movie that everybody hates, but I think I have a higher opinion of it than others. So
I will say, in terms of what I appreciate about the National Treasure movies, because there are movies that are like, they're fun to watch because they're dumb. I don't feel like those are really dumb movies, though. I wouldn't call them that. I would just say that they're fun.
Mm-hmm. Which is weird because all the critics were like, "This is so boring. This isn't a fun movie." I was like, "Are you watching the same thing that we're watching?"
They just don't understand.
Are you sure you're not watching a M. Night Shyamalan movie?
All those boomer film critics who remember the good old days of the Civil War. Yeah. They don't like that alternative history stuff.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. It might be that. That might be it.
LMAO.
Or they just don't like Nick Cage.
Yeah, true.
But, yeah, anyways, moving on.
All right.
Your turn.
So I had the second film, the thing I love that people hated. That was a movie. Mm-hmm. You know what it is.
Oh, I know what it is.
You know what it is.
I know what it is. It took me a while to get it, but I know what it is.
Greatest film. I'm joking. I genuinely did enjoy Batman vs. Superman.
That is... Wait, okay. Before you go any further, did you enjoy the theatrical version or the extended version? Because a lot of people didn't like the theatrical version, and then they liked the Snyder cut.
And you're not talking about Justice League. You're still talking about Batman vs. Superman?
No, I'm talking about Batman vs. Superman. Because there's two versions of Batman vs. Superman. Well, it's not the Snyder. They don't call it the Snyder version. It's called the extended cut.
Yeah. I have not seen the extended cut.
Okay, so this is just based off
purely the theatrical version.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to preface that before we get into it.
And I will even go one step further and say that I think Jesse Eisenberg did a good Lex Luthor.
You lost me. I was with you. But then I jumped off the train. I'm sorry. He is not a good Lex Luthor. If he was like a Lex Luthor's son, I could buy. Because it's like, oh, we're introducing a new character. True. But he should have been the Riddler.
That would make sense. I could see him as the Riddler or as Lex Luthor's son. And in a weird way, if you just watch the movie thinking he's Lex Luthor's son, it works. Because
Lex Luthor's supposed to be this super like macho villain, right? He's like a businessman. He's built in the comics, right?
Yeah, and I'm a huge comic book fan, so I should be the type of person who gets pissy over stuff like that. But I didn't mind it. I like the weird, eccentric Lex Luthor. It is not Lex Luthor. It's totally incorrect. It's off character. It's nothing similar to how he should act historically. But I didn't think it was that bad. And I will go one step further as well and say that, what's his name? Jeremy Iron. His Alfred, I think I prefer a little bit to Michael Caine as well.
I could see that. I think Jeremy Irons' Alfred is more of a older uncle.
Yeah.
Whereas Michael Caine is more of like a
A
great
butler.
uncle, grandpa kind of figure.
Yeah.
Or butler. Even like, yeah, he's like more of a butler, right? And Michael Caine jokes with Christian Bale, but you don't feel like Irons feels like his jokes land better,
Yeah.
right? When he's joking with Ben Affleck. Um. So yeah, I can see that.
And speaking of the comics, this film, Batman vs. Superman, is much more heavily inspired by a comic book called The Dark Knight Returns, which it's that and the same guy, Frank Miller, wrote a comic book series called All-Star Batman and Robin. There are bits and pieces of both of those in this, like in Batman All-Star and Robin, or I got that backwards. In All-Star Batman and Robin, the Alfred is like a super jacked kind of guy, and I see a little bit of that in the Jeremy Irons Alfred. And then you also have the whole plot of literally Batman fighting Superman, and the whole like suit that he creates to fight Superman in. All of that is from Dark Knight Returns. So as a comic book fan, I appreciated those moments, and I actually thought that those were well done until you got to the whole like Martha thing, which I'll admit.
Did you have any issues with the film? Like everybody else has, everybody else has issues with it. Do you agree with any of those issues?
In terms of I heard people complain about the length of the film, that it was, even just the theatrical cut was too long. I didn't feel that way when I saw it. I didn't really mind the length. I thought it was just well paced enough. I've heard people complain about Batman killing people. I think
in the nightmare sequence,
not just in the nightmare sequence, but just like in general, he just open fires on people indiscriminately, and a lot of that is also taken from Dark Knight Returns. In the comics, Batman is a little bit more willing.
Yeah, because he's been seeing some shit.
Yeah. So that I didn't even really have an issue with that either. I think the only thing that I had an issue with in this film was the actual climactic fight at the end, where Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman fight the weird Doomsday-esque monster. I was like, this guy hasn't been set up the whole film. Why are we fighting him? What is this?
And that's the problem. I think that's the problem I have, especially with this, is that there was no setup.
Yeah, it didn't end well. The ending was just like a Deus Ex Machina. It just came out of nowhere. It was like, let's get the three main Justice League people together to set up the film, because why would we set it up any other way?
Yeah, because DC's trying to catch up to Marvel.
Yeah.
And they had to try and get them together as soon as they could. Yeah, this film, I won't say is the worst DCEU movie. That is definitely Suicide Squad. It has its moments, especially that nightmare sequence is pretty. Yeah. The nightmare sequence is pretty dope.
Yeah,
I like the Irons and Ben Affleck chemistry. The whole conundrum of Superman is, we think he's a good guy, but what happens if he turns bad?
Yeah.
That's a good conundrum. I mean, that's a good real life conundrum, right?
Yeah.
That intro sequence where Bruce Wayne is in Metropolis while Superman is...
Well, he's fighting Zod. Yeah.
Yeah, it really gives weight, because that was the problem that people had with Man of Steel, was there was no weight behind what happened. He just kind of destroyed the whole city.
Yeah. So
to show that weight in the opening sequence of Batman vs. Superman, and to give Batman that kind of motivation on why he is so wary of Superman.
Yeah.
I think those are the good moments, but I think the bad is definitely always the bad, especially the villain at the end, and
the whole Martha thing.
Doomsday, right? And Martha and Wonder Woman coming out. I think the problem I had with the Wonder Woman thing was They should have just not shown it in the trailer.
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
that was a colossal drop when they showed it in the trailer. Like what they should have done. That I remember that first trailer. There was a glimpse of Gal Gadot, and it was like, oh shit, who's Gal Gadot? Right? Like
Yeah.
you don't hire this actress just to be a extra. And so I think you get that, and you get that buzz going about like, oh, is she Wonder Woman maybe? But then they dropped it in the trailer, and she came out in full costume. And I was like, you guys dropped the ball. Like this could have been the, oh my god, Darth Vader is Luke's father scene.
Or like the
for the DC universe.
Interstellar.
Yeah, with what's his Guy Pearce when Guy Pearce comes out.
I'm glad you remember that joke.
That scene.
And especially because she doesn't really do anything until the end.
Yeah, right. She's in that one scene where when Ben Affleck is, I think he's in Lex Luthor's house, right?
Yeah, and they're breaking into stuff.
And she like talks to him for 5 minutes. And she even drops her name. She's like, "Oh, my name is Diana Price." I'm like, "Why did you say your name?" Like you could have just been like, "I'm a friend" or some shit like that. I don't know. I had a lot of issues with that film. I think it has its moments. It definitely has its moments, and I don't think it deserves the criticism that it gets.
Yeah. I feel like for me personally, those moments, the good moments outweigh the bad moments, and maybe it's just because it's like as a comic book fan, it was like Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the television, like I reckon, like I know that.
Yeah.
I remember reading that. I remember that moment. So, it definitely comes across like a weird hodgepodge and mashup of moments that probably don't mean much when they're put together, but individually they're really strong. But I didn't mind it. For that reason, I still didn't mind it. And I'm probably going to get a lot of flack because there's a certain movie I don't like that a lot of people like. And if I'm willing to say I like Batman vs. Superman, but then not like this other film,
you're setting yourself up. You're setting yourself up, man.
I might get some hate mail. But I'll let you go. Do you have a movie you hate that people love?
I have some good ones. You ready for this one?
Go ahead.
Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is the most overrated movie of the 2010s.
But for what reason?
There is no character. There is no plot. It's just, let's watch this deranged man stay deranged for 2.5 hours. The acting is decent, but it's not... I don't want to say it's not Academy Award winning because the Academy Awards that year for acting wasn't anything special. It's not like Al Pacino getting snubbed.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I remember being so hyped for this movie. I remember I was watching all the trailers. I was watching, all the interviews and the featurettes and stuff on the lead up. And I was just so bored. Like, it's not even that I was going into this movie with the closed mindset of like, I'm gonna hate this movie. I was genuinely excited to see this movie, like genuinely. And I just was so bored the whole I think the only time where I was like, oh shit, was I don't want to spoil it, when that twist comes where with the girl. I don't know if you remember.
LMAO. So,
do you remember?
Yes. Now I have a question for you.
Okay. That was the only part where I was like, wow, okay, what are they going to do? And
not even when he was on Murray? You get what you deserve?
No, because at that point I was so checked out of the film that I was just like, I just want to go home. Like, I'm going to finish this because I paid for my ticket and my icy.
LMAO.
I'm going to finish it. I'm already here. Like, I know we got 15 minutes left, but I was just... And I remember, I will say that the part where... that part was pretty interesting too, where I was like, "Oh, what's gonna happen?" But then
it was just interesting.
Yeah, because it turns out that was not true, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay.
Well, I'll say this: I feel like the thing with Joker is that people expected one movie and then got something different. I think a lot of people were expecting like a really like intense Heath Ledger, like super psychological type of thriller film, and I think they just got something different. And I mean that as a response to the film as a whole, because I didn't really particularly care one way or another, but I did. It's still about the Joker, so it's like hard to talk about it seriously. But I think it did a good. The film's strongest point is its dramatization of poverty and how that can push people into mental illness without much resource. And I think that was probably the film's strongest point.
I would say that he was already mentally ill before the movie started. And that's my problem, is there was no, like, I was led to believe, maybe I read too much into it, was we were going to see his descent into madness. But to me, he was already mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Like, and he just kind of, I mean, he snapped, obviously, but we didn't see a full descent into... Yeah, we just saw the snap.
Yeah.
And I don't, maybe my expectations were too high. I don't remember if I was expecting I don't think I was expecting a Heath Ledger performance. I think I was expecting more of like a kind of like Black Swan kind of take on it, where it's,
I think Black Swan
the
is
madness.
Probably, that does that very well.
Yeah, and I think I was expecting more of that, and what we just got was a guy who's crazy, who stays crazy for 2.5 hours, I think. Yeah. I will say that the camera work was nice to look at, especially the color palette. Sure. It had interesting, like, it goes from the dark blue or gray on the subway to the apartment is more of a brown, and then the Murray show is very lively and has a lot of colors.
Yeah.
So the cinematography and the camera is very beautiful. This movie is a meme to me just because of that stairway scene. It's like
the stairway scene and the whole, like, the talk show. Yeah.
You could have done the stairway scene with any other song than Song 2 by The Blur.
Yeah. I hate that song
and
so
then
much.
The talk show where he's like, what do you take?
I will say definitely something that hurts this film is the film does a good job of that whole man destroyed by society, but the audience reaction that we saw, the whole gamers rise up kind of thing that came out of that film, totally ruined and destroyed what was basically a important point to make. And then you saw dumb people like on SNL where they were talking about how the film was about white male rage. And it's like, how do you completely miss
what the film was about?
Point? Yeah. Like, it's not about white male rage. It's about poverty and lack of resource and mental illness driving people to rage. To forget about that is to miss the point of the film. And yet so many people did that. And that's why I don't really care for the movie one way or another, because I just can't stand the discussion around it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a little disappointed when people were like, oh my God, Joaquin Phoenix, best performance of all time. It's like, it wasn't even the best performance that year.
Not even his best performance.
Yeah, he's so much better in all of his earlier work. I don't know. I think they gave him the Oscar because it's like it's like the Leo thing. Where it's like, okay, we've been short sticking you or giving you the short end of the stick for so many years. We're just gonna throw you a bone, even though your performance doesn't really deserve it.
Yeah, I can see that. I definitely kind of agree with you on this one. I didn't really care for the film one way or another.
Yeah. It's not the worst movie ever made. It's definitely very well put together. But I was disappointed. I think it's overrated.
I think now that you've mentioned Black Swan, if I saw a Joker film that was more similar to Black Swan, I probably would have enjoyed that much more. I didn't think about that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's more in line with the character of the Joker, and I feel like this was more so they used the character to tell a different kind of story.
Yeah. I do like that it was rated R though. That was a good.
I always appreciate R-rated superhero films.
Mm-hmm.
I always like that.
Especially when he's killing all of his coworkers.
So maybe a little too excessive on the blood splatter, but
it's just chocolate syrup, bro.
LMAO. If the film was shot in black and white, they probably could have gotten away with chocolate syrup.
Anyways, moving on. Your turn. Right. What is a film you dislike?
A film I dislike that other people like. So, Blade Runner 2049 is not a good film, in my opinion.
Whoa. Okay, so I've heard this take before. Give me your thoughts.
I was so incredibly unimpressed with this movie. I love the original Blade Runner film. The Ridley Scott version of Blade Runner. The actual director's cut of the film. It's such a good movie. I love it so much. It's probably one of my favorite films. And I love Denis Villeneuve. I think he is even a little bit above Christopher Nolan. He's one of my favorite working directors. I love him. And so I honestly had expectations going into this film. Because I was like, this is a franchise. At least they're making it into a franchise with this film. It's a sequel to a film that does so well of not just exploring themes of identity, but dramatizing them, because you have the whole replica.
What makes us human?
Yeah. They do that through the replicas. And I think that's I love stuff like that. Not just exploring a theme, but dramatizing it through something. I think the original Blade Runner does that so well. And then you have Denis Villeneuve, who is such a incredible visual director. He does. Mm-hmm. If you want to talk about Terrence Malick influence, Arrival is a really good example.
I love that.
But even that film has just a unique visual style, and I like how Denis Villeneuve approaches each film differently. Like Enemy is so different from Sicario, and it's so different from Arrival. And it fell flat on every front for me. I didn't think the story was interesting. The whole Ryan Gosling, is he the replica? Is he the human? Is he the son? Is he the daughter? Whatever. It wasn't what I think Blade Runner needed. And then you got the whole freaking the girl, the holographic girl, Joy.
Yeah.
That was like the most wasted potential. Okay, imagine this. Imagine you have a series in which you have humans and then you have replicas who look like humans. You can do a lot with that. And the original Blade Runner did. But now imagine you throw in a holograph of a human in that mix. You're adding now a new extra element. You basically now have this incredible permutation, and they turn her into a love interest, is what they do. Yeah. I was furious. I was like, biggest, most wasted potential. To turn that idea into a love interest was... Even my cat is angry. She's meowing like crazy. She hates it so much.
Yeah, I can hear her in the back.
I just... And okay. This is another example of they gave the Oscar just because it felt right. Roger Deakins. He's an amazing cinematographer. This was not his best film. This was not an Oscar-worthy film at all.
This isn't even his best film with
Villeneuve.
Denis.
Yeah. I mean, would say, to be fair, Sicario... Deakins should have won it with freaking Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? He should have won for that film. But he didn't deserve to win for Blade Runner 2049.
So my opinions on the film come from, I have never seen the original, so I can't base it off of the original. But I remember watching this in theaters and just being so impressed in IMAX. I remember being so impressed with the the cinematography and the production design and the set design and all that.
Yeah.
The plot itself, you're right. It is very underwhelming.
Yeah. I am right.
And I think a professor asked me my opinions on it, and I was like, yeah, I mean, the plot was okay, and it was one of those films where the camera takes forever to go from spot to spot.
Yeah.
And it's so slow, but because everything looks so pretty, you don't really mind it. But I mean, this is a 3.5 hour film.
It's very long, and it feels like
super long. I remember going in. I remember we went in, and it was sunny, and we came out, and it was pitch black. That's how long it was.
Oh man,
that's how long of a film it was. I was like, I think I had to go pee once, and I don't ever pee in theaters in the middle of a movie. That's how long it was. But no, I don't think you're wrong in saying. Again, I've never seen the original, so I can't say like, well, the sequel's better, because I do agree with that it is kind of underdeveloped as far as the plot goes.
I mean,
Gosling, I see a lot of praises for his performance.
No,
but he's playing a robot.
Yeah, no.
Like, it's kind of hard to mess up playing an emotionless robot.
He did a really good job where keeping a straight face the whole time.
Yeah, he has one job where it's like he shows emotion. His one scene where he shows emotion. I will say for the film's favorite, it is very technically sound. Like it's the sound mixing is, the sound mixing is phenomenal. Like the gunshots sound, especially when we were in IMAX theater, the gunshots sounded like gunshots. And
which is hard to do.
The fight scenes, it feels like they're actually in a fight.
Yeah.
Because there's none of that shaky cam. Maybe that's why you don't like it, because there's no shaky cam.
I love Denis Villeneuve though, so it doesn't really matter for me. And we haven't even talked about something so underwhelming. We haven't even talked about it. Is Jared Leto, his villain?
I don't like Jared Leto to begin with, so he's not even underwhelming to me.
You have bias against him.
I do not like Jared Leto at all.
No, I agree.
I think he's one of those creepy people who people are like, oh my god, he's so into character. It's like, no, the dude's just fucking creepy. Like he sent. I remember hearing a story, or I think I was listening to a story where he sent all of the cast of Suicide Squad snakes.
Oh yeah,
and everybody's like, oh, he's just in character as the Joker. It's like, that's a liability issue.
Yeah,
like you can get in trouble for that.
I don't have much respect.
You're not getting any character.
I have like no respect for him. I think he's really a good actor at all. But I mean, just in the original, and people who have seen the original can agree with me. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they will at least know what I'm talking about. I just felt like in the original film, the shot of the unicorn meant more than anything in Blade Runner 2049. And it's like a 2-second shot. But I think it was just filled with more depth and how it relates to the entire story. And the freaking origami unicorn that they didn't even bring back. They kind of brought it back, but it was in a weird way. I just didn't. Maybe it's because I had expectations, and that's never a good sign.
Yeah, that's why I don't have expectations anymore.
The one time I have expectations for a film, I don't like. But even when I try to think of it like on its own, outside of what I expected, it still falls flat for me, because you still have problems like using the character Joy, and then there was Joy, and then there was like a live action girl whose name I don't forget.
Mm-hmm.
They had everything they could have done, and they did none of it. They had so much potential. They could have been a contender.
All right.
I don't like that film at all.
Chill out, Marlon Brando.
It's not that good. It's not a good film. Watch the original Blade Runner. I 100% recommend that.
For slightly off topic, are you excited for Dune?
Oh yeah. I still want to read the book before I see it Denis Villeneuve is one of those guys where I see all of his films the day they come out, opening day.
I'm on page 500, I think.
Really?
Of the book. So I'm like 2/3 of the way through. It's like a 900-page book.
Yeah, it's long. But
Jesus Christ.
No.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
I'm excited.
I'm not excited for Timothee Chalamet, but I am excited for.
I'm excited to see if there's actually going to be a good Dune, because there was the David Lynch Dune.
Yeah, that flopped.
And I don't think David Lynch is a good director. And I don't think Dune is the kind of film that he should have made to begin with.
Well, he's not a sci-fi director, right?
No. Well, that doesn't matter.
So.
You cannot be a sci-fi director and do sci-fi. I think the problem is that David Lynch is just not a good director. And Dune was not the kind of movie. Should have put that for the bold take. And then you had the Jodorowsky Dune, which everybody hypes up as being like one of the greatest unmade masterpieces, but like I think it would have been just as bad. I don't think Jodorowsky was the kind of director who should have done Dune anyway. If it was
great, it would have been made.
Everybody says that, and I'm like, no, I don't believe so. I don't think Jodorowsky was the guy. I trust Villeneuve way more.
I do too.
Yeah. I didn't even really like Arrival that much, and I still thought it was a good sci-fi film.
Really?
No.
I loved Arrival.
Despite the fact that it was nothing but Terrence Malick worship, I didn't really like it that much.
I loved Arrival.
The whole end sequence where they like weave in and out of time.
That's all Terrence Malick?
That's all Terrence Malick for you right there. The last like 10 minutes of the film. I was in the theater like, wow, this is so well done. Of course I like this part.
I think you just hate on Amy Adams, bro.
No, because she was in Batman vs Superman.
Oh yeah. Sorry, okay, fair enough. She was Lois Lane. You just hate Jeremy Renner.
Yes.
Noted.
Worst Hawkeye ever.
Then he would be a good director to kind of take a look back at his career too, like we did with Nolan.
Oh yeah, for sure. Watch all of his old French films.
Especially because all of his films are very concrete in there, and they're all different from one another.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not like Scorsese where he releases his 6th gangster film.
Hey man, if you're good at
find a new genre. He releases his 6th gangster film, and surprise, surprise, it has Rolling Stones in it.
It has Rolling Stones. It has Leonardo. It has It takes place in either New York, Chicago, or Boston.
Hey, those are the cheapest cities to film at, man.
Are they in America or
I
just
don't know.
like in?
I don't know. I'm just making.
I was gonna say, wouldn't Vancouver be up there?
Probably.
Honestly, they were probably all shot in Vancouver, and then they just said it was Boston.
Element. All right, moving on.
All right.
So I have one last film I do not like.
All right.
And it's really 2 films, gonna be 3. Tom Holland's Spider-Mans. Not good Spider-Mans at all. I do not like them in any facet of their production.
Can I go one step further and say that none of the Spider-Man films, with
Spider-Man
one exception,
2,
with
Peter Parker. I mean, not Peter Parker.
With Sandman.
Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, no. The only good Spider-Man film, in my opinion, is Into the Spider-Verse.
Dude, the only good Spider-Man film is Spider-Man the Game PS4 version.
All the cutscenes.
Yeah.
Just mashed
That's
together.
actually... But that is probably the best depiction of Peter Parker in a video game film format, which is kind of sad. Because we've had 3 different franchises of Peter Parker.
Dude, let me tell you this.
And numerous TV shows.
It is not just the films or the TV shows. It's even in the comics. Peter Parker has a incredible history of just having the worst characterization of any superhero.
There's so many versions of him.
There's not only just so many versions, but there are just so many terrible versions. If you ask any comic book fan what are some of the worst superhero comics ever written, you will at least get 3 Spider-Man stories in that list. It's bad.
So yeah, Tom Holland. I just hit those films. There's no weight behind them.
So it's not just Tom
Because even
Holland
if you,
himself that you don't like?
well, no, it's the films as a whole. Like, there's no weight in those films because even if you don't like the first two franchises, I think you can agree that there's real weight behind what Spider-Man does in those films, right? And in those films, it's kind of like, all right, cool, we beat him up, we cleaned up the city, and then we beat him up again in the next movie. It's like, what?
It somewhat feels like they're trying to make live action cartoons.
Yeah, and that's really the problem with the MCU is that's their like aesthetic that they want to go for.
Yeah, they're a lot more
films,
comedic.
They're more cartoony and less groundy. I mean, even if you have issues with the Andrew Garfield versions, which everybody does, at least they're unique and not cartoons.
Yeah.
And I feel like I also just don't like Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
His version is so annoying and whiny, and every time I bring that up, everybody's like, "Well, actually, in the comics, Spider-Man is he's always talking," and it's like, yeah, he's talking because I can read. I don't want to listen to him keep talking. I can always just skip it when I'm reading the comics.
I don't think Spider-Man is like I said,
I would say that for the movies.
I don't think he has good movies just across the board. Not even the Tobey Maguire ones.
There's a lot of issues with the Tobey Maguire ones. Those are still the best to me, but there are definitely issues in those. Have you seen the second one?
The second, which one? Tobey Maguire or Tom Holland?
No, Tom Holland.
The Tom Holland one, that's the one where he fights the Riddler. Not the Riddler, Mysterio.
No. Yes.
Yeah, I've seen that sequence where he fights Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, that's the only sequence where I'm like, okay, this
is good.
MCU, you can do something where he's fighting him in the dark or whatever.
Yeah,
that was pretty dope. But then the ending just ruined it all. I was like, ah.
Oh man, yeah, no, I don't. I haven't seen the Tom Holland. Well, I've seen a little bit of both, and I know that it probably doesn't make sense for me to say that they all suck when I haven't seen all of them. Yeah. That's I know what I'm gonna be getting.
The first one though had a good Michael Keaton. He was good. I liked his character. He was probably the only villain in the phase 3, I guess, of Marvel that actually had motivation. Besides Thanos.
Yeah, true.
But he was probably the best villain that MCU has come out with.
And it's Michael Keaton.
It's Michael effing Keaton. It used to be Batman.
He used to be, yeah. He was also Birdman.
I think he has a thing for flying.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I think that is a bit of an unpopular opinion. I think a lot of people do like the Tom Holland.
It definitely is, because everybody I talk to loves those.
Yeah,
and for sure. I do not. I'm not here to say you're wrong in your opinion, but
they're just not interesting.
I want to revalue your taste in film. That's all I'm going to say.
They're not that interesting, I'd say.
Yeah, especially because there's so much they could do with that character, and they can't.
They don't. Yeah, or they
because
can't.
of the MCU.
Because one of the big problems with the first Superman film, or not Superman, Jesus, Spider-Man. Was that Spider-Man Homecoming? That was the first one.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. It kind of felt like a setup film for the Avengers and for Civil War.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of the few...
Well, it came after Civil War.
True. Well, he was also in Civil War, so it was like, now that we've showed you Spider-Man, we have to actually show you Spider-Man.
Developing.
And I was like, you kind of don't, though. You kind of don't.
Yeah, we know who Spider-Man is.
Yeah, we know. We've seen...
We've been through this many, many times.
Because all they really do is they introduce him, give him a film, and then they kill him. So he gets dusted.
Bro, spoilers.
Oh, people have seen it.
No, I know. I'm just
it's Infinity War. If you had read the comics, then you would have known beforehand.
Also, the home title thing that they're doing. So stupid. Stop it. I don't know what the new one is called. I think it's like, I don't even know what it's called. It's dumb. Stop it. The first one didn't make any sense. Why are you calling it Homecoming?
Yeah.
Like, okay, Far Away from Home. Okay.
He is
The new
literally
one.
in Europe. He is away from home.
I mean, it makes sense, but it's also like you're trying to be cute. It's called No Way
Clever.
Home. Stupid. So dumb. But it's because they don't want to call him Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3 again, right? Anyways, I don't want to keep going on about Spider-Man. So let's move
He's
on.
honestly, in my opinion, a very uninteresting character. I've never cared for Spider-Man.
In the films? Or
Just
in general?
across the board. Across the board.
I think I would disagree with that.
Who is the most interesting superhero?
Well, it's Batman, right?
Yeah, I can see
Iron Man in the films.
I think Batman, yeah. I think he's definitely...
If we're talking just Marvel, I would probably give it over... I'd probably give it to Captain America over Spider-Man, to be honest.
I would probably agree with that, yeah. I think Captain America. Cap is a little... slightly more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Slightly more.
Just because he has an incredible arc over the MCU.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But, yeah, anyways, that's my take on Tom Holland.
No, I would...
Do you have any other films you don't like? Any other
I could
unpopular
probably sit here and think of them
opinions?
for hours, but those were all the films that I thought of for this. That was my list.
Yeah.
Blade Runner
Cool, that's
2048
my
was really
list.
the only one I feel like was worth talking about because I know I have actually had like furious disagreements with people over that film.
I'm going to give you an unpopular opinion.
Okay.
I wrote this one down and I didn't really develop any further. Timothee Chalamet should not be a leading character anymore.
Why
until
not?
he's like 40. I don't buy him.
I feel like he and Tim Holland have the same weird thing where they kind of just they seem too much like their characters seem too much like them in real life.
Yeah, he plays this. I mean, he plays basically the same character in every film, right? Where he's like this moody teenager,
moody sad boy.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I guess even in Dune, you can see it in the trailer in Dune. It's
Yeah,
like,
seriously.
oh god, this is why I was like, I'm not into Timothee Chalamet anymore.
Anymore.
I think he needs to be like 10 years older, grow some facial hair, possibly get a new haircut. Then I'll buy you as a leading man. I'm not saying he's a bad actor. I mean, he's very good in a supporting role.
Yeah.
When he's playing his moody teenage boy.
His moody self.
Yeah. But, like in The King, have you seen The King on Netflix?
The King? No, I haven't.
Decent film. It's like a Shakespearean take on King Henry the Fifth. Fifth or the fourth, but Timothée Chalamet is the King Henry. He kind of just plays that moody. It's like we could have done so much more than just like whispering in a bar that you usually do in your films anyways.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't like have... This is probably a slightly larger insult, but I don't really like have an opinion of him at all whatsoever. Like,
it's fair.
He's not good enough for me to care if he's in the film, and he's not bad enough for me to like instantly discredit a film if he's in it. In the way that people might do with
it. I don't
Nicolas
hate him.
Cage.
I'm not saying like I'm still gonna go see Dune.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just saying he's not all that.
My only biggest complaint is
is
that he just plays the same character every time. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
For sure.
So.
But I mean, you know who I think is genuinely an overrated actor?
Give it to me.
The Rock.
Oh yeah. Well, The Rock isn't even an actor anymore. He's just a marketing tool.
Him and Kevin Hart. If I see the two of them in a film together, I'm like, no.
Yeah, you want to talk about playing the same character over?
Those two
They
guys.
are the prime examples of playing the same characters over and over again.
Yeah.
The Rock is usually dumb and Kevin Hart's funny.
Yeah, they try to do that weird, like, straight man, funny man kind of shtick. And I'm just like, this is Jumanji, you guys. Come on.
Jumanji is another film that I was like, wow, can't believe you made almost $1 billion on this.
Yeah, seriously.
It's The Rock and Kevin Hart, I guess.
Nope. If they're in a film, it has to be like the greatest movie of all time, 100% across the board. Everyone loves it. It has to be directed by Terrence Malick for me to want to go and see those two in the film.
It has to have Shaky-Cam.
It has to have Shaky-Cam, yeah. No, God, no.
Possibly in Batman vs. Superman extended cut.
Also starring Guy Pearce in a surprise performance as Wonder Woman.
Also starring Guy Pearce coming out of a pod.
Yeah, that right there. Perfect movie of all time. Great film.
I'd go day one for sure. All right. Any last takes? Any last thoughts, ideas that you have?
Paramount is the worst run studio in Hollywood. And
Paramount, I think everybody would agree with that.
Yeah, for sure.
You on that? Paramount Plus is a waste of time. Don't buy Paramount Plus.
Don't buy Paramount Plus. Go buy Quibi.
No, I got the free trial, and the only thing worth watching on it was Dora the Explorer and the Godfather trilogy. So
hold up.
That's just that. Yeah, that tells you all you need to know about Paramount Plus.
Now, was it the live action Dora the Explorer, or was it?
No, it was the TV show. I don't even know if Dora the Explorer was on there. I'm just making a joke. I think SpongeBob's on there.
Dude, nice. SpongeBob is also on Amazon Prime, so get that instead.
There you go. Yeah, don't get Paramount Plus, kids. Just spend the $30, buy Godfather trilogy. And yeah, are you watching anything? What are you watching right now? Are you watching anything?
What am I watching right now? I was actually just thinking about Attack on Titan and rewatching that.
Oh my god.
Which I know we're going to do.
You have 9 months to catch up.
Well, I've seen all of season 1 through 3. So.
Well, there you go. All you have to do is watch the rest of 4.
We just have to we have to rewatch it, and we'll do our episodes on that.
Yeah, I would love to do Attack on Titan breakdown.
Hell yeah.
It's a good show. If you're not watching, this is for the viewers. If you're not watching Attack on Titan, it's probably the best show.
Animated or live action.
Animated or live action. And that's saying a lot because I didn't buy into that hype before I started watching it. And then I started watching it and I was like, oh shit, okay, this is actually the greatest show out right now.
Oh yeah, for
so
sure.
Good.
It's
Ozark. Good. I'm watching Ozark. I'm on episode 8, season 1.
Not bad.
Pretty solid. I'm enjoying it because it's not a super smart crime drama like Sopranos or Breaking Bad.
Or True Detective.
Yeah, like I can just watch it and just watch it. I don't have to like piece together what's going on.
Yeah. Jason Bateman.
I'm enjoying that a lot.
Jason Bateman is an actor who I think is just good in everything.
Yeah, I really like Bateman in this. His character, such an interesting characters too. So I'm really digging Ozark.
Not bad. Yeah. Heard a lot of good things about
Anything else you're watching? Nothing else?
Before I did this, yesterday I watched a film called the Paul Greengrass movie Bloody Sunday. If you're looking for a good historical drama about an event that most people in America probably don't know much about, it's about the Troubles in Northern Ireland when Ireland was fighting with the UK for control of Northern Ireland.
The IRA. Yeah,
the IRA. And I think it was a really good historical it's fair warning, it is super shaky cam. There are definitely moments where I can imagine people will get queasy and unnerved. But I think if you just want a really realistic drama about a real event, it's surprisingly very accurate. I mean, the way if you look at pictures of what happened and then you watch like the film, it's almost 1-to-1. It's incredibly accurate and realistic. So I'd say that's a pretty good film for sure. That would be my recommendation for the week.
It's called Bloody Sunday?
Bloody Sunday.
Where can we find this at?
It is free on Amazon Prime right now. So
Amazon Prime. There you go.
Would recommend
kids.
that if you have that.
Cool.
For sure. Is Attack on Titan your recommendation for people? That's what you would recommend?
Attack on Titan is my recommendation for people. We're on a 9-month hiatus. I say we like I'm part of the show. We're on a 9-month hiatus right now. So the word is early 2020 is when the final episodes will come out. It's just kind of dumb. I hate when shows do that. That should
get used to it. It's anime. Get used to it.
Yeah.
Are you watching it on Crunchyroll or Hulu?
I'm watching it on Hulu. The problem with Hulu is there's ads. So if you don't like ads, get
Crunchyroll Premium.
Yeah, I would recommend that. That's the more superior way to watch it, I would think. But I'm broke, so.
Are you watching sub or dub?
Sub is, oh my god, sub is superior.
It's a dumb argument, but yeah.
This is like a Coke or Pepsi debate.
Pretty much, yeah.
Samsung versus Apple.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you aren't watching Attack on Titan, it's you're missing out on history because it's gonna go down as one of the greatest shows of all time. And the fact that it's an anime is even crazier.
True. But we'll talk.
I don't watch a lot of I don't watch a lot of anime, so I never got into it until I think one of my friends recommended it to me. It was like, "Hey, you should check this out," and I was like, "All right, like I'll check it out." I think I watched 6 episodes in one night. And I was like, "Oh my god!"
I have much more to say about it, but I'll save that for when we talk about. When we do a whole episode.
I caught up in a month to where we're live. So that's it for us this week, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in once again to our Hit Play podcast. Tune in to us next week where we talk about film and TV as well. Don't know the topic yet. We'll figure it out eventually.
Probably Attack on Titan.
Ooh, okay. Don't tease me like that. Yeah, I'm Isaac Jimenez. That's James Harding.
Hello.
Thank you guys again. Make sure to subscribe on Facebook or follow us on Facebook. Sorry, subscribe on YouTube. Hopefully, we'll get a Spotify going pretty soon.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
But follow us on Facebook to get that update. So, thanks again, guys. Have a wonderful night.